Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. It's a Monday, and that means we are about to get started with our Mindset and Motivation Monday topic of the week. Each and every week, I hope to bring you some inspiring words that have really touched my life, made me think a little bit differently, and I hope that they're able to do the same for you. So each and every week, I look through all the different quotes that I love. I go back and I read the different passages from books that have really motivated me to move forward in my life. And I really believe that it is that growth-based mindset. It's our belief that whatever our life is right now, whether it's good or whether it's bad or whether it's just kind of floating there, right, in the mist, in the fog, that we're able to move it forward. So good, bad, or just kind of neutral, that we are able to take whatever we have right now in our life and take one more step forward today or this week into achieving the life that we want, to making it that much more rich in all areas of life. And that would be mentally and spiritually, financially or career-wise, with our relationships, with our body, with our health. There is no reason why you should enjoy each and every part of your life. Having abundance in one area does not necessarily make you better or worse than anyone else, but what it allows you to do is to live to your full potential. No one else's potential, but simply yours. What you make of this life is yours to choose. Now, at certain times, it doesn't seem like we have that choice. At certain times, it seems like we're stuck. And that's definitely the case in that present moment, only in our physical-based world. At any time, we can begin to change our mindset. And as we've spoken about before on previous shows, it all starts with the mind. There is no different action that takes place or consistently can take place unless those thoughts change first. Well, there was an interesting quote that I read over the weekend, and it was this. It was by Confucius. I don't even know exactly how I came across it, but sometimes it's those serendipitous-based events or those fortuitous happenings that allow us to explore a different side of our mind. And this one was by Confucius. And the quote goes like this: "We have two lives, and the second one begins when we realize we only have one." So I read that, and of course I was immediately confused. I'm like, what is Confucius saying here? Now, Confucius never says things as straight as an arrow, right? It's never direct. But when you begin to contemplate it, that is when the magic happens. So I read it a few more times, and it goes again like this: "We have two lives, and the second one begins when we realize we only have one." So I said, what is Confucius saying? I just sat there and thought about it. I don't get it. We all have two, but the second one begins when we realize we really only have one. So is it two lives or one life? Like, what are you saying here? And I just sat with that, and I started to roll it around, and then I began to get it. That's why if you read something, if you hear something, it's why I'm always saying keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. Because you don't know what you don't know. And that is because there are brilliant thoughts out there, but people close themselves off to it. They are already set in their ways and they're set in their mind, and they miss out on life. They miss out on, well, the beauty of life, but they also miss out on the journey. And it really is. And I was about to say enjoyment, but really it's the journey, because sometimes it's enjoyable. Sometimes it's a struggle. What I've been realizing really more and more over these past few years, though, is that it can all be enjoyable. We go through difficult times. There's no doubt about that. But really, even during those difficult times, we can see it's part of our destiny. It's part of our movement and growth forward in life. We can't always control the outside events around us, the external events. Sometimes there are events that happen that we would rather they don't happen, but they do. And it's our response that makes the difference. in our life or also the lives of many others. So when Confucius says we have two lives, and the second one begins when we realize we only have one, I believe what Confucius is saying is this, is that in our first life, we tend to believe that we're invincible, or we tend to believe that nothing can ever happen to us, that nothing bad can happen to us. Now, this can last, you could be a little kid and you have to grow up real fast because of something bad that happens to you when you're a child. Or you might skate through all the way through your 20s, maybe even 30s, no big deal. And then all of a sudden, you might have a family, you might have a sick parent, you might have something that brings you back to, oh, there is something deeper than this, which we'll go over in just a moment. And I would also say when we're younger, when we're living our first life, we also feel that a lot of people out there in life are infallible, or that they're leading these amazing lives and that nothing's bad's ever happened to them. So we kind of look at maybe it's a celebrity, or maybe it's our own parents, or maybe it's people in power or in government, or maybe it's a teacher or someone out there, and you see them as something that they're not because you see one side to them. So you hold them up on a pedestal of something that you may never be able to achieve, that they are way out there, right? It's kind of like, I know when I was growing up, I would look at whether it be an athlete or whether I would look at some type of role model, whatever it might be, and I would see them, I'm like, oh, wow, that person has it all. That person's been able to achieve this. They must have come from this, or the other thing. They must have been naturally gifted there, whatever it might be. And these are all stories I told myself. One is, well, they would certainly make me feel better, right? If I didn't feel I was able to achieve that, I could simply write it off as that, well, they were just naturally gifted, or they came from a lot of wealth, or they came from this, or they came from that, whatever it might be. You can just make up those excuses, right? It's easier that way. It's certainly more convenient than having to really delve into this. What's going on really behind that? And thinking about other things that they may have had to struggle through in order to make it where they are right now. And also times, I think when we're leading that first life that Confucius talks about, we also believe that we don't necessarily have that big of a say or make that big of a mark in life. Meaning that we're only one person. What's the point in casting our votes? We're only one person. What's the point in starting a business? We're only one person. What's the point of me or anyone becoming a health coach or a doctor or a real estate agent, whatever it might be? What's the point? I'm just one person. What dent am I really making in the world? So during this first life, you're almost looking at it as, well, you're just floating by. You have a little bit of invincibility factor when you're younger. You believe all of those people in power. And I think this is pretty important in the time we're at right now, too. It's well, who's really telling the truth, right? What we understand is this big government or whatever it might be, we always believe that they might have our best interest in mind, whatever party you're for or against, when really we realize that these are all just people. And as we start to see our parents and those in power and role models and athletes and ourselves, we begin to realize we're all people. We're all individuals. That means we have our own shortcomings. That means that we do things in life that aren't necessarily the best idea, that don't necessarily move us forward, that other people may see as a bad habit or something that's certainly not in alignment with the belief of this role model, celebrity, person in power, etc. We realize that our parents weren't perfect, and they're not perfect, and that's okay. And as we start to move into this mindset, this is where Confucius says the second life, or I should say, the second one begins when we realize we only have one. Because now we've moved from the mindset of almost living behind a cloud, almost watching our life go by on TV. And really what that means is that we begin to now see things as not for what we hope them to be, but for what they really are. And a lot of people, when they use that phrase, they use it in a more negative term, like, oh, I see that person for what they really are. And they're talking about it in a negative mindset. But you can't have that. You can't use that terminology and have that mindset and have it be appropriate. Because again, you're now pegging that person into a corner of now being always negative, when most likely that's not the case. They were negative to you in that one moment in time. But they might be really positive and really helpful with their children or their family or in everyday life, but you caught them at a really bad moment. So when we go back to this quote, and I really do love it, we have two lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one. For me, I got it when I realized that when I got really sick as a teenager, as a late teenager, 17 years old, I looked towards my doctors and my parents and everyone else for the answer. And you kind of have to as a kid, right? I was still a kid. I was a teenager, senior in high school. And I thought everyone else had it figured out, like my track coach or basketball coach or any coach that I had, right? Like they always had it figured out. And, my parents will figure out this. They'll figure out what's wrong with me. Well, they'll know which doctor to take me to. And of course, how would they? Well, I didn't know that, but how would they ever know? And then I would go to my typical MD, PCP, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. And I would go to specialists and I said, well, they're a specialist. They should know what's wrong with me. And they didn't. What I didn't realize were that all of these people wanted to help me, but they're all people, right? They don't have it all figured out. They don't have all the answers. And so when I would get mad at them, it was because I didn't realize they didn't hold all the power. I didn't realize they weren't all-knowing. My dermatologist, who put me on 3 years of amoxicillin, one of the reasons why I got in that position in the first place, with such tremendous gut health issues, C. diff, H. pylori, SIBO, candida overgrowth. That doctor, that dermatologist, put me on amoxicillin twice a day for 3 years from 14 years old to 17 years old. Destroyed my immune system, completely shut it down, destroyed my gut. All a host of issues came from that. Now, did they do that on purpose? No. But they know that some types of acne are cured, we'll put that in air quotes, by removing the bacteria that you can get with taking amoxicillin. They didn't realize that it would create increased intestinal permeability, leaky gut, autoimmune-based issues, and a host of other issues. They didn't realize that would come from that. Why? Because they're not infallible. They were in medical school probably 30 years before that. They're not keeping up on the best of functional-based medicine or integrative health. So what I began to realize when I didn't get better for about 2 years, no progress, is that there's more to this that I'm not getting. And that if I'm ever going to get well, I probably need to look into this myself. And that's when things began to change. I simply said, well, I've been to 24 different doctors and specialists now. They don't have the answer. My parents don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. But it's not my doctor's or my parents' life. It's my life. I apparently need to figure this out. And I realized that, I'm not getting better. I'm getting worse. I might die. I have no idea what's going on with my body. I don't know why I don't have any energy. I don't know why my glands are swollen all the time. I don't know why I can't swallow. I don't know why all of these things are literally breaking in my body. I don't know why I'm losing all this weight. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. But what I'm realizing is, although this is a really bad situation, that no one else is going to figure this out. Because one is, everybody else has their own life. And I started to get that. And I also realized that if anything's going to happen, good or bad, it's going to happen mostly because of me. Not because I want bad things to happen, but because I need to start looking for the right answers. And they may not come overnight. And I didn't realize this again. This is partly hindsight. But at that moment, I realized that I'm in a bad spot. It doesn't seem to be getting any better. I need to take control of this. And again, did that happen all in one day or all in one night or all in one 30-minute podcast? No, it didn't. It didn't. But I began to look more into it. And I began to just see things as to how they really were. That although people wanted to help me, they didn't necessarily have the answers. So let's go deeper. And it's probably the same for you. Whether you're young, middle age, or older. It doesn't really matter. We all have dreams. We all have aspirations. We all have goals. If we want to achieve those, we have to understand a few things. The first is that it's your life. And since it's your life, you get to call the shots. Don't hurt anyone along the way. Don't bring others down in order to lift yourself up. But if there's something that means a lot to you, make it happen. The bottom line is your life is meant to be lived by you. Other people's lives can be lived by them. Your happiness is within you. You're the only one that's able to create that. For your body, for your health, for your relationships, for your spirituality, for your career, what gives you passion in life. That has to come from within you. Now, ask others for help. Ask others to lift you up as well. But in the end, your idea for your life has to come from within you. I realized this again growing up as well. Maybe my parents, maybe my friends, maybe my teachers wanted something else for me. I tried those things. They never fit. What always fit for me was a teaching-based role, working with individuals, not sitting in a cubicle. I couldn't do it. I loved to read. I loved to teach. Give me a topic I'm passionate about. I will read a dozen books. Literally, I'll read a dozen books that month, minimum, and I'll begin to teach on it. And it's because it's what I love to do. That's what speaks to me. That's not the case for everyone, and I realized that. What I also realized was this, and this was big, is that nobody has it all figured out. So that athlete I looked up to, well, they did some things in their life that probably aren't so great, that they wouldn't want to see on a highlight reel right on ESPN or anything like that. And a lot of my teachers, well, they had their own issues going on outside of the classroom. My parents, although absolutely fantastic, and any kid would be great to have them, they didn't have it all figured out. They didn't teach me all the things that maybe I wish I would have known. But what parent can, right? So what I'm looking at is nobody's perfect. So then if we know that, maybe we can be a little gentler with ourselves as well. That we're not going to always get it all right. And that's okay. Because every time that we think we're losing, we have to realize we're simply growing within the process. And as I've shared with you before, and what's been shared with me many times is this. If you are unwilling to give up, it's impossible to lose. So people ask me, how did you get better? Well, I pretty much tried everything that didn't work. And then I began to make correlations with the things that did work. And I began to do more of those things and less of the things that didn't work. And over time, I put together protocols and systems that I've now proven to work. But that was because I've also figured out all the things that didn't work. So if there was anything I was able to do, it was read and keep reading and keep learning, keep understanding, keep going to mentors and figuring things out through pure stubbornness. And that's sometimes what it takes. It's how stubborn are you going to be? So first you come to the realization that we all have two lives. The first one is great, but it's like our infancy, our awakening. And as we become awakened, we realize like, hey, we have one life to live. This is it. And if it is meant to be, as they say, it's up to me. No one else is going to do the studying for me. No one else is going to get me well. No one else is going to improve my relationship. No one else is going to enhance my spirituality. No one else is going to go for that run or lift those weights. No one's going to change the way that I eat except for me. And once I realized that, and I also realized, wow, then this is a good amount of work that I have to do. And once I got over that realization, I said, sure. But you know what? Life's going to move forward either way. And if it's going to move forward either way, I might as well get busy doing the things that I want to do in order to achieve the end result. So a lot of the times along the way, I didn't want to do the things that I had to do in order to get the end result. I didn't want to start going to bed at 10 o'clock. I'd much prefer to go to bed at midnight. But I did the things that I needed to do in order to get the end result that I wanted. So it was the reading and the persistent reading, which I'm like, okay, these people are saying this, they're doing this. These people continue to do this in order to get, well, I should do that too. I don't want to do it, but I want the end results. And so as I started to go through that and I started to build these protocols and systems, I realized that really there's an answer for everyone. Now, the answer isn't what everybody always wants to hear when they're living their first life. But as they move into the second, they get it. They realize that they're in charge of their own happiness. They are in charge of their own life. And because they're in charge of their own life, sometimes they're the ones that are going to have to get out there and put in the work. That they need to do the things that they don't always want to do in order to get the life that they want to live. And that's really what it's all about. Now, here's the nice thing, though. As you are moving through this journey of life, you're going to begin to realize that as you achieve one goal, you're going to see another one off there then onto the horizon. And that's the amazing thing about being an achiever, about being a human being, is that as you achieve one thing, you begin to realize, oh, well, if I could do that, maybe I could do this. And it just starts as a maybe, but then you realize, okay, well, I've already achieved this first thing. What's my next goal? And then you see the work or the actions that need to be done. But let's just call that life. Don't think of that as extra work. That's just living. Now it's just part of life. And sure, you're going to encounter some obstacles. But you know what? Those are just tests along the way. It's literally saying, are you worthy of being able to live that life? Are you worthy to go through the trials to really overcome the obstacles that allow you to change your character of who you are? Because that's what needs to change in order to live that life and get it to stick. And that's why when people cheat the process, sure, they could get the end result faster, but you know what happens? Well, over a period of weeks or months, they just slide back to their preconceived state, to that state before they had even started. And that's because they cheated the process. Because they didn't change. Remember, in order to get that change in life that you want, you're the one that needs to change. That's it. You, inside of you, needs to change. You now need to become that person that says, okay, sure, I'll get up, I'll take my supplements, I'll do my exercise, I'll do my morning routine, I'll pre-plan my meals for the day, whatever it is that you want to do if you want to change that body. Same for health. Okay, you want better relationships? Well, what are you doing today to improve that relationship? Because if you don't have a plan, it's probably not going to change for the better. The same for spirituality, the same for your career. What are you studying right now? What are you doing right now that's going to lead you to the thing that you want? And that is what I've realized. It took some time, and I'm glad, though, that I learned it at an early age. Even though I felt all alone, why isn't anybody else thinking like I'm thinking in my early 20s when everybody's just thinking about the moment, right? It's because I realized at a very young age that I wasn't invincible, that people didn't have all the answers. And I also realized that that's okay. It's on me for good, for worse, whatever it might be. That's okay. That's part of life. That's part of the journey that we're all on. And I get to share this experience with the other 8 billion people on Earth. We are all in this together. No one person is better than another. And we all have our unique perspective. It's why I try to stay open. It's why I also start to realize and really see people as to where they are in their own journey. Oh, okay, yeah. You're just starting to open your eyes for the first time. You're just starting to realize that you only have one life. So when I read that quote by Confucius, we have two lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one. I look at that and I say, this is a brilliant moment for me to try to share that with others. To say that maybe just listening to this show for the first time, you're beginning to realize that you are the one that contains your destiny. You are the one that holds your potential. That your happiness lies inside of you. And it's also the great responsibility that you have. And it is a great responsibility that you are able to take control of your life and that you're able to begin to move forward even just one small action this week in order to move towards your passion, your purpose, and the life that you were meant to live. Thank you so much for tuning into today's show. As always, it's been a great pleasure speaking with you. If this show was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stephencabral.com/courses.